Hi there, welcome back to the channel, or welcome for the first time if you're new. I'm Alex Boone, I'm a nature artist and nature journaling educator, and I teach over at www.naturejournalingcircle.com. I'm also the author of 2 books, which you can see behind me. Today we're going to get stuck into this sketchbook, which is my teaching sketchbook for the last 2 years. There's loads of stuff I want to show you in here and plenty of tips to get you going in your own artistic and nature journaling practice. Let's have a look inside. I just want to begin by taking a little look at some of the stickers I've got on here. Some of them are mine, like the robin and the nature journaling circle and the rabbit here. Some of them are from things I really love, like Hollow Night and Cinema Roll. And I have this really awesome dinosaur sticker by Paleo Jules that has some of the pride flags on it, which I really love. Yeah, so I kind of always like to do this. I've got some sticky plastic stuff over the top to protect the stickers. This is a Sea White sketchbook. It's got the branding of my favourite art shop, my local art shop in Sidmouth, so shout out to Southwest Art. It's got their branding on there. Now this is a hardback sketchbook of Sea Whites, and in order to fit in all of the extra sheets of paper that I've kind of stuck in here from my classes, I had to cut out some of the pages, so it's got fewer pages in this book than it actually had when I bought it, but I've kind of built up the bulk by filling it with extra sheets from my classes. So this is really going to be a look through everything I've taught in the nature journaling circle over the last 2 years, and there's a lot of stuff in here. So kind of beginning with what nature journals actually are. It's a whole session on that, and that is actually a free session, so you can go over to naturejournalingcircle.com and sign up for that free session if you'd like to get a bit more information about nature journaling. Now in here I've also got some of the stuff from the production of my books as well, which we can get to a little later. These are some early sketching studies just to show some of the ways that you can use sketching in a nature journal. It's very simple. And then this one is from my Painting Nature in Derwent Inktense course, which you will have seen some of this perhaps in my Inktense content on the channel if you've been here a little while, talking about things like how to use a paper palette with the Inktense pencils. And I've stuck an example paper palette in here and some examples of doing some botanical sketches with Inktense. And then there's also some bird sketches over on this side. These were done in coloured pencil, and they were for my very first circle logo, which has now changed, but it's nice to keep this. Now, one of the earlier classes, and something that I teach really regularly in the nature journaling circle, is about sketching birds very quickly and different ways of doing it. So we've got some continuous line here, we've got some blind contour, shape method, and some shading. These are all here on YouTube in a free live lesson that I did, I think, a couple of years ago now. But you can find that on the channel, and I could link it in the description if you want another free lesson there. Now, as we get into here, these are actual classes now from the Nature Journaling Circle. So every single bit of this was done on camera, and I was talking and teaching at the same time. So it's kind of a slightly different way of making a sketchbook. These were all done on separate sheets of paper, so I could kind of keep moving quickly when I'm talking on camera. But what I wanted to do was collate them all together here, so you can kind of see the development of these sketches. They're all very fast. You know, we're really kind of just showing how to look at shapes and how to really get some sketching, get some major features of birds down quickly. Now, all of these classes are actually available separately as well. You don't have to join the membership to access them. So this one's called Birds in Motion. And we did a lot of sketching from video as well, once we got used to the technique. So, you know, all of these are not works of art. They're all practices, just like it should be in a sketchbook. And they're all something that have taken only moments to draw as quickly as possible as the birds in the video footage were moving. So this is a method of line sketching that I described in this way for my book, How to Draw a River. So this shows the different stages that you can go through to drawing a duck. And this is one method, is to actually start with over the top of the head and down the back, which is something I learnt from John Muir Laws. And then you can kind of build out from there the shape of the beak, around the bottom of the bird, and then finally adding some details. This is a slightly different method. This is the one I tend to use most of the time, and that is doing a oval to begin with. Sometimes it's kind of all different angles depending on the type of bird, and then building out from there with the head shape. So you can see that happening here with this heron. And here's some more examples as well in a kind of more of a nature journal style. Let's turn that one that way so you can really kind of see what's happening here. I've got some notes around all my sketches as well. But once again, these were all done very fast, and speed is kind of the main thing that I'm interested in because I sketch outdoors so much of the time. But we don't just do fast sketching and things in the circle. I'm interested in two different mediums that I describe regularly over there. The Derwent Inktense, as mentioned earlier, which is used to do these botanicals for the spring botanicals class, and also coloured pencil. And this is Derwent Pro Colour, which was used for this insect sketch. And also I've just got a whole set of polychromos pencils, so I'm going to be working on those in here as well. There's some of my reference images. I like in sketchbooks to add some of these little things like, little flaps and things of interest that are informing whatever it is that I'm doing. So don't disregard your reference images. Those are very important and useful in the sketchbook. Here's a page of river insects, these little insects that I drew for the How to Draw a River book. I wasn't able to use in that book images from my nature journal. I had to bring out some separate images so that they could easily be kind of put onto page layouts, and they didn't have any text around them. So that's why I did all of these extra little sketches in here. Then in June last year, we did a tutorial that was all about line sketching and how you can draw greenery quickly using continuous lines. So this is this tree image and then this image of a woodland, and how that allows you to make free and loose marks in fineliner. And then from there, we took that idea and I showed everybody how to then incorporate a little bit of colour into that quick line drawing. That one's called Verdant Greenery, Complex Greenery in line. I think it's something like that. That one's available. And then this one here, we were looking at water. So I've done several little paintings here that were all done in a combination of Derwent Inktense and coloured pencil over the top to show how that you can draw water in slightly different ways using paint techniques. And then we're back to birds again here. There's a special class on birds of prey specifically. Sometimes I get requested tutorials from my members, and this is kind of one of those where we talk about a specific topic. And yeah, here it was birds of prey, and we've got all of these interesting birds from around the world. Many of my members submitted some of their own photography and their own images of different types of bird. So we've got all of this available, and all of the reference images are available as well. So you can carry on drawing after the tutorial is over, or you can pause the recordings too. A few more here. You see they're all quick sketches, but they're really useful to be developing that technique, especially if you're someone who likes to sketch outside quite a lot. Now we're getting into autumn time, so we've got some seeds and berries. I try to do things quite seasonally for the Northern Hemisphere, but because the classes are kind of there all the time anyway, you can jump to whatever time of year suits you if you're not in the Northern Hemisphere. And we've got some different mixed media sketches here using graphite coloured pencil, brush pens, Inktense and fineliners, and different ways of combining graphite and paintings on a page as well. Then this one here, this was actually taken from a class that I did that was about how to identify plants in a nature journal. So we talk about the kind of things that drew us to it, and then we break it down and we think, okay, we can look at the shape of the stem, the types of seeds that come out of it? What do the spikes look like on this teasel? What does it remind me of? That's a really good way of kind of finding your way to an identification. So this is kind of a first step into identifying something. Then you can use guidebooks and things like that, apps or whatever it is later on. But by really being curious and interested in it, that's how you can get that process started of your research. And then we have a more kind of general nature journal page here, focusing on one species, the horse chestnut, and this was done for my book, How to Draw a Tree. Now we've got some slightly different things. We've got some textures. I'm quite interested in textures in nature. You can see that there's 3 different types of texture here. We've got rabbit fur, deer fur, and then we've got some wood pigeon feathers at the bottom, and that was all rendered in coloured pencil. And then here we've got some fungi and pages of graphite drawing of some fungi that was done about this time last year, actually. And that was all done on camera to show people how to use graphite in this kind of more detailed way. So if that's something that interests you, that is the Fungi ID and graphite drawing class. And there's a big section on identifying fungi first as well in that one. Now we're getting on to a course I did at the end of last year that was for using coloured pencils. And so this is some swatching charts for different coloured pencils and some swatching colour blending exercises that were done for the book, How to Draw a Tree. So I've got all of that together there. I like to keep all of this as a resource. So it's not just kind of to show everybody here, but it's also for me to really use in my own work, because I've got it all to hand. Whenever I want to show someone something, I can show someone if I'm teaching, but also I've got all of these charts and things for my own use as an artist. Now this was before I got my own set of Faber-Castell polychromos. One of my members, Jenny, she sent across her own swatches over from Germany, which was wonderful, and she sent them to me so that I can have some comparisons between the Pro Colour and the polychromos. And I was quite inspired by her doing this for me, and so I have now started to introduce polychromos into my own work, and I'm going to extend this coloured pencil course to include polychromos as well. So if you were to purchase this one, a lot of my courses stay in evolution, and I do keep on updating them with new information as time goes on. So this is a nice little sketch that was done in the Derwent Pro Colour of an apple. And we're continuing on with things from this course. Now I did this sketch, it's quite a more detailed coloured pencil to show about how to do fur textures in coloured pencil, but I had to do it in such a hurry that I'm actually not very happy with it. So my plan is to remake this fox drawing, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to stick it here, and then I can update the course with the new version. This is some information about using coloured pencil outside. So we've got these lapwings here, and I was sketching them there and then outdoors. And I took out a selection of coloured pencil, and all of the information about which coloured pencil and all of that is also in that course, Coloured Pencil Techniques for Nature Journalists. I also used this horse image to show how you can make something look white by using 3 specific coloured pencil colours. So all of that information is also there in the course. Now we come on to this year in the Nature Journaling Circle, and everything I kind of stuck in at this end of the sketchbook is all this year's stuff. I've got some phenology wheels. I sell the templates for these in my web shop at alexboonart.com as a digital download. So if you like that sort of structure of nature journaling, you can get those phenology wheel templates there. And this one was an exercise in using coloured pencil on toned paper. So you can see we've got some slightly different effect that is created when you're using coloured paper as opposed to white. It allows you to really get some of these whites standing out from the background. I really enjoy it. And it works differently depending on which choice of paper you use. So we've got some black paper here, some tan again there. And here is some blue toned paper as well, which gives us, again, another different effect. So you can really kind of see how well that works for really bringing out the lights and shades in a sketch like of this leaf. This one here was about using pressed flowers and leaves to capture the spring and how to do a interesting background. So I painted this background in Derwent Inktense, and then these were layered over the top. Over the last year, I've personally been getting more and more interested in doing different types of collage, and you may have seen in the last video on this channel that I've been using lots of autumn leaves in my work. So this was kind of earlier in the year that's been started with the spring leaves as they were first coming out of the ground. Then we get into a little bit more, the focus this year has been a lot about using natural materials, but also about how we do our page layouts. So we have a April themed page here that has lots of different species. You picked out some of your favourites, spring species, and then learnt how to arrange them on the page with a little quote like this. And then on this side, we have May's page, which is a little bit more focusing on one species and trying to make a page that really is interested in that particular one and has information about it, but lots of different stages of its life cycle, how it moves, where it lives, all of that. And that is called Make a Bird page at Nature Journaling Circle. And then there's some practices here that I did in brush pen. I was kind of learning a bit about using these ink markers, and I've really started to enjoy these quite a lot. And I think my favourite one here is this little moorhen chick. They're kind of really interesting looking, and this one came out quite well. So these were using Arteza brush markers, which are quite fun to play around with. Next thing, we have some simplifications of landscape. I've also been interested in looking at some other artists, famous artists, and seeing how they simplify things down. So this was looking at David Hockney and how he simplifies his landscapes. And I used 3 different mediums here, the Arteza brush pens, Derwent Inktense, and Derwent Pro Colour. And each of these examples was done in just about half an hour, something like that. And you know, all the reference photos are on the screen, so you can sketch along and just learn how to simplify landscapes down for use in your own illustrated journals or nature journals. And I've got some tests things here, testing out different pens and seeing how they react with Inktense mainly. This was another tutorial looking at mixed media butterflies moving around. So we were working mainly from video in this to kind of capture the lively movement of the butterflies. And this was inspired by an artist called David Measures, who was one of the most amazing butterfly artists. And he always drew and painted them from life in the field. So all his sketches have this kind of movement in them. And this was done again in mixed media using a combination of coloured pencil, Inktense and brush pen. And now we're getting into quite close to kind of up to date now. We're sort of nearly at the end of the sketchbook. Here are some sketches on drawing moving water, which came from my book, How to Draw a River. So we've got those there. But I also taught at this year's World Wonder Conference, and this was 2025 World Wonder Conference, and at the time of recording, video passes are still available for this. So if you'd like to go and watch loads of amazing nature journaling and art classes, you can buy a video pass, and this whole suite of things here is included in that in my class. So I showed how to draw water in this way, starting out from little motion sketches like this in pen, really drawing how water moves so we can understand it better. And then finally, the last one that I'm going to be showing you today, this is a page about song thrush, and this was all about singing birds, songbirds, and how you can use the app Merlin to capture the waveform of their song and incorporate that into your nature journal pages. So it's quite a nice idea and it's quite fun to do, and there's a whole class on that again up at naturejournalingcircle.com. So as I said earlier, I had to take out a whole load of pages here because you know, the amount of bulk that I added by sticking in all of these sheets of paper, it kind of meant that the book was going to explode if I didn't take some pages out. I kind of highly recommend doing this though, actually, to in your own sketchbooks and your own journals, sticking in sheets of paper like this, because then there's not so much pressure. You know, you can create something on a separate piece of paper. If you don't like it, it doesn't have to go in the book. And also it allows you to use loads of different colors and loads of different types of paper. There must be at least 5 or 6 different types of paper being used in here. Like, this is a cartridge paper for some quick sketches. This is a hot press watercolor because I'm using mixed media. And there's some Bristol paper, there's some Cardi paper, cotton paper. There's all sorts of stuff in here, and you get that variety if you just use separate paper, stick it in, add some notes, add some dates, and make yourself a record. If you're an art student and you are, like here, I'm the teacher, so this is slightly different. I'm the teacher, but I'm collating everything so I can help students. If you're a student, you can collate all of the information from your classes, from different sketchbooks, and start to make notes to help yourself remember all the things you've learned. So I really hope that this look through a teaching sketchbook was useful for you and you got some information that can help you in your own artistic practice. Don't forget, I have a free class available at naturejournalingcircle.com, and I've also got a community over there of like-minded people, and that's available for free. But of course, my paid membership, if you would be interested, that is the place to really go if you want to learn from me on a regular basis live. Thank you so much for watching this little sketchbook tour. I really hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again soon.